Alright, so in the previous video, we basically got the background down, so now we're going to bring in the images, okay? So, I'll include these in the, like, lab materials if you do want to, follow along. So basically what I have, are these things here. So I have, my text in this add text. I have this evil Charlie PSD. I'm just going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to pause while it opens up so you don't have to wait for the load. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an ad that's mustaches for babies, because I feel like that's a thing that needs to happen. I don't even remember why I started that, but this is my son when he was a baby, and it looked like he was doing like this thing, so I added the mustache on to make it look like he has a mustache, and that's basically what we're going to use. But what I want to show you is that this is a PSD document, and basically it just has this transparency in there, and that's it. All right, so I just want you to see what it is. And then the other, these are actually Adobe Illustrator files. So we're not going to learn Adobe Illustrator in this program, in this class, but you would learn it in the next one. What I want you to understand basically is this, though, is that the program, because it's part of the Adobe environment, right? Their workflow. Basically, all of the programs can work together. So most programs wouldn't be able to bring in a PSD or to bring in an Illustrator file by default. You'd have to put it into some sort of universal format. So this is really nice because it allows me to basically bring in whatever I want. Okay, so. I'm going to go ahead and bring this picture in. Now, there's a couple different ways that we can go about doing this. I'm going to show you one way, then I'll show you another way, and then I'll show you another way. All right? So, yeah, let's do it. So, what we're going to do is we're going to do File, and then you're going to do Place. Where do you place? Place. And then you have to navigate to where your files are. So, mine are right here. Week 8. Mag add, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab this Charlie. Okay, and I'll hit open. And what you're going to see is on the cursor, there's actually going to be a little picture, and it's actually going to show what I have here. Okay, what I want you to do is I'm just going to go up in the top right, top left corner and click because this is a rather large picture, and there it is. Okay, now you leave yours like that. I just want to show you something else real quick. So when I do File Place, it is possible to load up multiple images. So I could select a whole group of them, and I could go boom, and then go boom, and then go boom. And I could just basically go boom, 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 which is pretty nice. So basically you could have all these images pre-done, and you could go through and basically put those in there. All right, so I'm just going to delete that guy and that guy. Make sure you're on the images folder, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. Okay, now, so what it is, I just hit place. Basically, place is kind of like importing the image. But it's not exactly, because what this is actually doing is this. If you look on it, you'll see that it says evilcharlie.psd, all right? And if I look at links, it's actually going to show me that I have this link here. And what the links mean is that basically this is referencing that image, which means when I go to save this file, this picture does not exist inside of my InDesign document. So like when we're in Photoshop and we're painting or doing whatever, when you save that PSD, that exists in there. Like that's part of it. So you save a PSD, you bring it somewhere else, it works totally fine. No issues. This picture is actually being referenced from the other thing. So if you've ever used a non-linear editor, like a movie editor, like iMovie or Premiere or anything else, you'll know that when you cut your video together, the video doesn't actually exist inside of your project. It's merely referencing the video. So if those videos get moved or shipped around, or you move your file in some other place and it loses the path that leads it to where the videos are, it'll break. And that's the same case here. Now you might think, well, that stinks, because what if like it'd be easier if it was all together. And there is a trick to that I'm going to show you at the very end. But this is actually really good, because what this allows us to do is I could bring this picture in, right? So let's say I had, let's say we're doing a spreadsheet or like an ad, and we're a real estate company, and we're going to have a bunch of all of our new real estate employees in this thing. We're advertising them, right? So I have all these different headshots. What I could do is I could bring all those headshots in, lay out the whole thing, and then reference those to Photoshop. But let's say all I have is like just some crummy photos. I could bring those crummy photos in, and then when the new photos come in, whoever the photographer is, they could retake those and then just save over top of the old photo. Or let's say I have the photo, but they haven't edited it yet. They could just save it, and then as long as they save over top of it, it'll automatically update here because it's merely a reference to the other thing over there. So it's kind of nice because I can do what I'm doing, and they can do what they're doing, and they can update their stuff, and then my stuff automatically gets repopulated with their materials. So it's not a bad thing, and you'll see later on that there will be some other value in it. But basically, this is linked to the other thing. It doesn't exist in this file. So when you go to give me your assignment, you can't give me just the InDesign file. It will not work. I'll get a preview, but it's not going to be very good. Okay, so just be aware of that. All right. Thing done. Okay, so I'm just going to plot that over. So that is actually a linked image from the other thing. And any images I bring in, that's how it's always going to be because they're just linked in. All right. So with this picture, couple of things. So let's go to properties. And let's see. So this is a little bit different. That's why. Okay, so this is one of the weird things that you're going to deal with, and I don't want you to get kind of confused by it. So let's say I wanted to scale this down. If you grab this, because this is too big, if I grab this, it's not going to scale it. It's going to do this. And you're like, well, that's not what I wanted it to do, and I'm sure it's not. So the idea here is that, come on, undo. You're not going to undo? All right, I'll just double click. There we go. The idea here is that basically what it's doing is imagine that you have your picture and then there's a window in front of it. And I can adjust, control minus here, I can adjust the window basically in real time, kind of just crop it. And I can adjust the window that's being seen. Now, if you look on this, there's actually two things here. See this little circle? If you click on that, that's the actual picture. So watch, if I click on this, you're going to see now I have this blue line outside of here. That's the picture. If I click and drag it, I can actually shift this around. So see how that picture is actually inside of this window, and it's being like just basically cropped inside of that picture, but the other picture is still there, okay? Now, that might seem kind of annoying, and it is. And you can go through and like, does this do the, oh no, you still have to hold shift. Okay. And you can scale it that way. Now, you would have to scale both, and that's annoying, right? Yeah. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo that. So, let's say you do grab this. Make sure I grab the outside one. So, I click on the outside one. Let's say you do grab it. If you want to like just snap it back, if I double click on this, it's going to snap back to the top. Okay. And if I do this one, it'll snap to the left. But if you do the corner one, it'll do both. Double click, and it snaps it back. Okay. Now, what you can do is if you hold Control, you can then scale it. And it will scale both the inside window and the outside window. But one of the things that they changed in Photoshop, which has been kind of, I don't know if I've complained about it before. It's actually a good thing, but it's kind of, you gotta get used to it if you're not used to it. Is that now if you want to scale stuff inside of Photoshop, you just scale it and it's proportionate. If you want to make it improportionate, you hold shift and then you can kind of skew it. Every other program, all the other ones here, all the other ones in other programs, you have to hold shift to keep it proportionate. Meaning that it's not like if I just hold Control, I can squish it, right? If I want to keep it proportionate, I have to hold Control and Shift. Oops. Control and Shift, and you can see it's going to scale it down, but keep it proportionate. So Control is the thing that allows me to move both windows, and Shift keeps things constrained. I don't have a problem with Adobe doing that. I think it's a good idea, but the problem is that they're inconsistent because now this program doesn't do it that way. They need to change them all so they're all doing the same thing like they used to. So either they all need to switch or they need to switch Photoshop back, one or the other, because I think it's just too confusing. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Control and Shift and just scale it down. And then we'll go like this. I'm going to hold Control and Shift again and just, actually that's probably okay. And I'm going to just click on this and just drag this down a little bit. And if I go in the corner, I'm going to rotate it a little bit, like so. And we're going to make it like this. And that's fine, I guess. Why don't we crop it a little bit just to show that we know how to crop? Okay. Actually, I don't want that edge to. Actually, let's not crop it. Okay. So now he's going off the edge. There we go. Okay. You can also. So let's say I grab this. So you click on this one to get the blue, and then I can. Oops. Okay, I did do it. Okay. Like this. If I double click on this. Oh, I thought it would snap back up. Okay, I guess it won't. All right, I'm just going to do it then. I thought it would snap to the other one. All right. So anyway, there you go. So now we got the picture. I'm just going to have him over there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just put like some text here. I'm going to put like the logo up top. And then I'll put some text right here. It says like, you know, do stuff. All right. So there's our image. What I want to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and place my other images. So I have two other images. One is a logo and one is the logo and tagline. Okay, so I got this guy here. Oh, so right here actually. See this? This is bad. You see how his arm here is barely touching? This is called a tangent. I don't know if I described this before, but basically, if you have two elements that are just barely touching, so they're not overlapping and there's not a gap, but they're just touching, those are generally called a tangent, and it draws your eye in. You want to avoid that. So I'm just gonna, oops, thought I had them selected. I'm just gonna shift it over. It's better to either have a gap there or have it overlap, but do not have it touch. Okay, so avoid tangents in your design. It creates an unnecessary, unwanted, I mean, unless you're looking for it, but usually you're not. It makes your eye go wonk right to it, and that's just not good. Okay, so we got that. So what I want to do is I want to place those other images. Now, this is one of the things I think that's really cool that's useful in here. So you remember before when I did my drawing, or we did this background thing, I used this rectangle tool, and I said, oh, there's also the rectangle frame tool, and they do the same thing. And I was like, but they're different. Okay, let me show you how they're the same. So let's say I take this rectangle frame tool, and let's see, properties. And if I draw a square here, you can see I can actually put a fill in it. I can click on this and make it blue. And I can give it a stroke, and I can do all the things that you could do with a rectangle tool. The only difference is there's this X in there. You see the X? Okay? Now, but, click back on this. The rectangle frame tool can do the same thing as the rectangle tool, but it's meant to more or less just be like, when you use a rectangle frame tool, it means it's a placeholder. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the other way of putting pictures in here. It's actually the same way, but kind of different. So, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and up on the top here, we'll put it right here where it's going to snap. I'm going to click and drag with the rectangle frame tool, like so. And it's just going to put this empty rectangle. Now, I'm also going to put one right here, like that. Okay? So now I have two of them, and that's great. So what the rectangle frame tool is meant to do is it's meant to be a placeholder that you could put stuff in. So imagine that I'm a graphic designer and I'm making a page layout, right? And we're doing, it's going to be a modeling magazine. And we're advertising shoes or something, right? So I got these shoes. What I would do is I could lay my whole design out. And let's say they haven't taken the photos of the shoes yet. I could do my whole design. And then once they get the photos done, I will put them in afterwards. So what this allows me to do with the rectangle frame tool is that I could put these rectangles in, design the page, and then after they're done, I'll plop in the pictures where those frames are. So let me show you how you do that. So there's two ways of doing it. I'm going to show you this. So let's say I'm going to click the select tool, click on this one, and I want you to just do file. Actually, don't do this. I'm just going to show you. Don't do this. I'm going to do file. I'm going to do place again. And I'm just going to choose the M, and I'll hit open. When you have the object selected and you hit place, it's automatically going to put it inside of that object, right? And just to kind of, prove a point here too, this is why I was saying the rectangle tool is the same. If I do it this way as well, it will do the same thing on the rectangle. It'll put it right inside of it. So, but just, even though they do the same thing, one is meant to be a placeholder. I just want you to be aware that they can do basically the same stuff, and I think it's confusing. So, but treat this one as a placeholder, treat the rectangle as like a shape, okay? So, have nothing selected. So click off so you don't have anything selected. And then I want you to do File, Place. And I want you to select this and then hold Shift and click on this. And then hit Open. And now you're going to see we have multiple images loaded. You can even see there's a little icon that says, or a little in parentheses says how many things are in there. So there's 2 items currently in there, okay? and it gives you a preview of the item. So the first one that's in there is just so it's the logo is just a mustache for mustache. So anyways, what I want you to see is, see how on the cursor it has these dotted lines? That means when I click on it, it's just going to place the image right there, whatever the resolution currently is. But watch when I hover over this. You see how now it turns into just those quotes that go around that weird, I don't know what that shape is, but it's like this weird little thing. It changes. What that means is that when I click on this now, it's actually going to put the picture inside of that placeholder box. And now the next thing loaded up is mustache, right? And so then I'm just going to go up here. And so again, look, see how, I don't know if you can tell, but right next to it, there's like, it's like a square. And then when I go like this, it becomes, quote, like parentheses. And now that's inside of that box. So basically you can do all these little placeholders, and then you can just go boop, 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 boop. And that works with everything. I'm just going to show you this real quick. Don't do this. But I could do something like this. And then, let's say I have a bunch of text. I could do file place. I could select my text. And then you'll see I have the text right here. And if I hover in here, it'll click and it'll go right inside that box. Okay? All right. Get out of here. Get out of here. There we go. Okay. So now I have this, and that's super great. Okay. So, but the problem is I made this placeholder box, but it's actually pretty close to the resolution and stuff. It's not the same. So I just want to make sure that this bounding box, the window that it's in, is the same size as the actual image. So I'm just going to go in the corner and double click. Try again. Double click. Why do you know work? Come on. There it goes. And then it will snap to it. I'm going to do the same thing down here, just so that they're the actual size of the object. There we go. Okay. And then I'm just going to take this guy, and I'm going to hold shift as I rotate. So I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to click and rotate, and that's going to keep it in 45-degree increments. I want this upside down. Okay. So it's like this. Yay. All right. This is looking like a thing that's happening. All right. So I'm just going to put this in the top corner and snap it so it's snapped in, basically on the margin. And then we'll put this down here and snap it on this margin. That way they're lined up, and I think that'll make it cleaner and a little bit better. Good. So we'll call that good as far as that is concerned. So the next thing I want to do, so I got my images done, we'll say. The next thing I want to do is the text. So I'm going to do that in the next video. We're going to bring in some text, and we're going to, write it out, and it'll be all hunky to the dories. Okay? Let's just go ahead and lock this. So let's do the next one.